Good morning, afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, as part of NISSMAT, we are going to talk of the Kargil War. This was a conflict between India and Pakistan that took place in the Kargil district of Jammu and Kashmir from May to July of 1999. It involved Pakistani military forces infiltrating Indian territory in the high altitude region, aiming to disrupt the strategic link between Kashmir and Ladakh. India responded with Operation Vijay, ultimately driving out the Pakistani forces and reclaiming the lost territory. Major General Lakhwinder Singh, often referred to as the Enraged Bull of Drass, played a pivotal role in the Kargil War, particularly in the Drass sector. His contributions, though significant, haven't always received the widespread recognition they deserve. He is a third generation Army officer and was awarded the Yudh Seva Medal in August of 1999. General Singh was instrumental in the effective deployment and utilization of artillery, especially the Bofors guns, which proved decisive in turning the tide of the war. He advocated for the strategic movement of artillery regiments to the Ras, which allowed for devastating firepower against enemy positions. He was known for his innovative and unconventional use of artillery, including direct firing at enemy hideouts, which had a demoralizing effect on Pakistani forces. The Daraz sector was a critical battleground. General Singh's leadership and tactical acumen were crucial in capturing key points like Tololing, Tiger Hill, and points 5140. His strategies involved coordinated infantry assaults supported by intense artillery bombardment, which systematically degraded enemy resistance. The relentless artillery attacks under General Singh's command, particularly the direct firing, had a significant psychological impact on the Pakistani soldiers. Reports suggest they were demoralized and even pleaded for mercy during these bombardments. This contributed to their eventual retreat. General Singh emphasized close coordination between the artillery and infantry, ensuring that the infantry assaults were effectively supported by artillery fire. This synergy was essential for the success of the operations in the challenging terrain of Kargil. General Singh's contributions might not have been as widely celebrated as some other Kargil war heroes, but his role was undoubtedly crucial in securing victory. May I begin by asking General Singh, what inspired you to join the Indian Army and what early experiences shaped your leadership philosophy?
Pawan, good morning, and thank you for having me on your network here. You have said all about the Kargil really, and I need not speak about it because it summarized so well. Nonetheless, I share my experience with you. What made me join army is you already said I'm a third generation man, and in 1960s, 70s, when army was the most sought after profession, most challenging, most sought after. So I joined NDA at a very young age, at 15 and a half years of age, and I was an officer when I was 19 and a half years old. When I was an IMA, I wanted to join infantry. For a very simple reason, there was one officer, Captain Chaudhary, a tall, smart, handsome Jat officer, and during one of our maneuvers, he told us how to cross a double wire concentric fence, the two fence concentric points put together, and he very bravely jumped on that, made a bridge of himself, and told people to walk over him. Now, that was very impressive, and I was very taken by that impression. But then that was not to be so because my DS was a gun officer, Brigadier Kuller, and then Captain Kuller, and who had a lot of time for me. I didn't know about that, but he in my dossier wrote, I'm a live wire. So he made sure that I joined the artillery, and I should thank him for that because artillery did very good to me. As far as leadership is concerned, Pawan, Indian Army has a standard way of training people for leadership. There's nothing exceptional that I went through. I did imbibe a lot of issues from during my service from the colleagues, my men and senior officers. And that impacted my way of thinking. I realized that the two things required most in a leader is one is he should be candid, forthright, fearless. And then there were two characters, the courage, moral and physical. Now, these courage keeps interchanging places when as you go in rank. Well, if at a lower levels, at the junior levels, the physical courage is most important. But as you grow up, I think the physical courage takes over. And that is what something we need to imbibe on ourselves. We must have, moral courage takes over. That's something which is important that we must imbibe on that to stand our ground and get our convictions. I was also a very good leader of military history, and I did imbibe great conviction out of box thinking. And that's how my thing was shaped.
Can you describe your understanding of the situation in the Daraz sector before major operations began, including the initial intelligence and challenges you faced, and often purported that the initial intelligence was very weak?
So when this Daras thing happened, I was posted Commander 8 Artillery Brigade, a part of 8 Mountain Division. We were deployed in Srinagar in the CIA operations. And my brigade was located at Tanmarg. So actually our guns were all greased and harbored in a safe area, and we were used as infantry. Then my second tenure as a brigade commander, I had already done one tenure in the 2 Corps with 1 Artillery Brigade, where I had served with Bofors. And after my NDC, I was reposted to Commander Brigade. I felt a little odd about it, but I think it was too good to me. When the reports started coming in, it was taken as a normal operation by the Mujahideen infiltrators. But as the story built up, when the firing increased, and the local action by the 3 infantry division did not do any good, it became alarming. The court was quite sure that these were the Mujahideens who were there, and there was no question of the major action being taken by the Pakistan army. Now, there's a matter of mindset. There were mindset on 3 issues. One was, at that point in time, a very important event, historical event was taking place. That is bus diplomacy between Mr. Vajpayee and Mr. Sharif. And nobody thought of anything else but hoping for a great success of this diplomacy. Second was, in the months of winter, and you know the terrain there, which is from anything from 11,000 to 18,000 feet. In the month of winters, it becomes snowbound. It's very difficult to man those positions. So, as a matter of tacit understanding in India and Pakistan, the posts in such areas were vacated to be manned again at the beginning of spring. So we took some safety in that, impugned safety, and we thought nothing will happen. But good generals follow rules, and great generals know when to break the rules. And Pakistan's Musharraf broke the rule, and he made use of this opportunity. And third mindset was that opposite Kargil, the infrastructure on the POK side was very limited. And it was in a mind that even before something would happen, India will be aware of what is happening and could take action, will get time to react and take suitable actions to look after our own territory. It was all not to happen. It was strange. And as far as intelligence is concerned, there's no doubt, Pawan, it was intelligence failure. Intelligence failures happen at all levels all the time, but can't happen as frequently as it happens in my country. In 1950s, when China was building road next Saichen, we did not know for the next 2 years they'll build a road. In what was happening in Dras, there's no whiff to us. And while there were a lot of counter blaming of between army and the intelligence agencies, you and I can't do nothing about intelligence agencies. This is a national issue which they should look after it, because, but they can't carry on like this. Let the government deal with this. But definitely we had a role to play where our own ground troops failed to collect any information of what was happening. Even when the enemy came into our side of LOC. Now, the part of it, the blame goes to the holding troops, that is the infantry division, who are for sure that nothing going to happen, and they're taken to peacetime chores, give more attention to it, and sideline the operational responsibility in zoo building, looking after people, construction of arenas, and it is more visible and more paying. So, as the GOC said, did so, and it flowed down the chain to COs where they took advantage of this because it is more visible than the jury patrolling. And to my mind, and what we gathered, the infiltration started well in the month of February of 99, even when the snow was on. Some Captain Ahmed of the Frontier Force had infiltrated up to 3 to 4 kilometers on our side of area. And he claims that on the 28th of May or so, even Musharraf came and stayed there a full night. And we had no idea of that. So intelligence failure was very much there, and so was our not being able to do an operational job well or pay adequate attention. And then when the Vasos, they are the winter sorties for surveillance, they also flew over the areas. They flew along the valleys to see the footprints, and they ignored the heights. So surprisingly, when so much had happened, there was nothing known to us, and we were taken by surprise. At that point of time, we, by first information of the infiltration came to us sometime around the 3rd of May, and the Batalic sector by a local Tashi Namgyal. By 9th of May, the artillery firing had increased so much. The 9th May, they destroyed the ammunition dump at Kargil. It was a very major loss to us. Now, increase of artillery fire indicates that something unusual was happening. If you take your mind back to 1965, when Operation Grand Slam took place, Operation Gibraltar, and the artillery fire in the Punjab sector and J&K sector increased fourfolds. So I think GOC 8 Division General Mahendra Puri summed it very well. He said, I feel, in his mind, he said, that he feels there's something unusual going to happen at this point of time. And we were watching the situation. By 9th May, ammunition dump was blown off. By 13th May, transit camp was blown off. By 14th May, Kalia's patrol to Bajrang Post went missing. By 16th May, another patrol went by Katnajak. It was ambushed and 2 people were killed. So much had happened, but we could not link the dots. But Corps Commander still felt that he could handle the situation, and he tried local actions. But to give you a background to this area, 15 Corps held a very massive area, right, starting from Gulmarg across the Great Himalayan Range, right up to the eastern Ladakh. And the response 3 division was from Pass, Kabul Gully on the Great Himalayan Ranges to eastern Ladakh, almost about 850 kilometers. And this was a very vast area, one division. Sometimes in the mid-90s, they raised another division, 28th Division, French Division, to pump in more troops in the Ladakh sector. But as the insurgency grew bigger and Srinagar became more important, so slowly these troops were withdrawn and they were used in the CI role. Not a bad decision, because this is a part of the army to do, study the situation and shift their forces accordingly. But then there was a great shortage of troops. 850 square kilometers area, 850 kilometers of length of the border was too much for one single division to guard. And there were large gaps in this. And these gaps And the 3rd Division also had been a little lax in the operational work. So this is the time when Musharraf made a very bold plan, and which I'll talk about later. So there are some of the things which led us to this situation. We are watching the thing all the time, and we were almost ready to take part in this operation. The Jews were very keen, but the court said, "Hold on as yet. Let me try my own 3 div troops."
So tell me something. What date were you inducted into the sector?
So we were told to one of our brigades, that 56 Mountain Brigades of 8 Mountain Division, was inducted on the 20, on sometime 16th of May.
So that's a fair number of days after the information came in that there's something wrong going to happen.
Something is happening. I'm not too sure what is happening because it was still in a mindset that nothing major can happen and enemy troops can't walk in. And this is the arena of the infiltrators. So they were quite fixed on this issue that they were infiltrators and they will deal with it. So
When did you personally or your artillery brigade, when did it reach the Rans?
So before I want to tell you something before that, because it's important to link the thing. Around 16 May, the 56 Mountain Brigade was ordered to move to Daras, and they were asked to take over area between in the Mashko Valley and Daras area, and they relieve 121 Infantry Brigade of their tasks. Now, by the time they took over the brigade in altitude area, which requires a lot of acclimatization, getting used to it, on the 22nd of May itself, they were ordered to launch attacks on 3 important features of Daras area. That was Tiger Hill, which was the highest feature in that area. There is also the Tolling Heights, which are closest to the road. And third was point 5140. Now, this brigade, even before they were settled down, they launched 3 battalions on these 3 features. The attack on Tiger Hill and point 5140 fizzled out. Fizzled out because the troops are not acclimatized, they're not adequate artillery firepower, and they're ill-equipped. There are more physical casualties than battle casualties. But 18 grenadiers were launched closer to the road on Tolling Height. They made a small advance and they were able to establish a foothold. Now, this is what shocked the Kurtuman. And he realized that unless something major is done, we'll be in trouble. So between this, what happened is NLA battalions and now 3 things happened before this in Pakistan. Musharraf had this point of, to take revenge with India. He felt his humiliations of Siachen, 71, it was in his blood. So he was very keen to avenge this defeat. And there were plans within Ziaul Haq in which they had thought of these issues, but they were in a cold storage now. Musharraf, when he took over, he started posting people to the places which would matter. As the CGS, Chief of General Staff, as the 10 Corps Commander, and the Forces Commander, FCNA. So he had his own people there without arousing any suspicion. And then he made a very smart move. There were the NLA troops there guarding this area, FCNA area.
One thing, what is NLA troops?
It is Northern Light Infantry.
Okay.
These troops came under Home Ministry, but were officered by the Pakistan Army. Now, without arousing suspicion in the garb of changing troops, he beefed up his troops. They were being changed. And in the meantime, there was some construction going on of the roads across the LOC, which we took as normal construction work. But actually, they were purposeful because this is a time when heavy artillery was being moved to the forward areas. So there was not a whiff to the Indian Army that something was happening. And when he found gaps, he found that we had pulled out of the heights, he made use of it. And I think he made a brilliant plan and did a very good job of it. But he failed to understand the strength of Indian Army and its Indian people. Because he also failed to understand that they're both nuclear countries and there can't be a prolonged war on this because the international community will take charge of this. But his plan was that before the international community could act on it, he would be sitting atop the heights of Kargil Daras in a very dominant position, and the Indian army will have no choice but accept the fait accompli. So when this one brigade attack fizzled out, and we suffered a lot of casualties, I think then the corps commander was a very wise man. I think he had failed in his initial job. There's no doubt about that, and he realized it, and they took time off, and they decided to induct a division strength in the Kargil area. There are two options. I think Army Headquarters made a very good wise decision to move 6th Infantry Division from its peace location to Sonamar. And then another Northern Command Army Headquarters Reserves, 8th Artillery Division, which was already deployed in Srinagar. The Corps Commander had option either use the 8th Division or 6th Infantry Division. He opted for a known level, and that's why 8th 1 Division was inducted. Now, we moved there on 1st of June, 1999. And while I was ordered to move and I flew across on the Great Himalayan Range, I saw ocean of mountains there. Some as high as 11,000 feet to 18,000 feet, some still dotted with snow. I had served in Kargil area in 1971 after the war, and I had found the terrain very difficult. While flying across, I found these mountains very daunting. And it did not give me a good feeling that how will we throw the enemy out of these mountains? There's hilltops, and we landed there. And then, of course, the division also came, and then the battle procedure started.
When you reached there, how did you assess the enemy strategy and the deployments in the Dras area, and what were your initial tactical considerations that you had to take into consideration?
You see that at this point in time, it was quite clear. There was also interception by the Indian agencies that Musharraf, sitting in China, had spoken to CGS in Pakistan, and there were intercepts were clear that there were Pakistan troops involved in that. The army report is quite clear now. There were Pakistan troops involved in that. It's not a Mujahideen movement. So that is why these actions were taken. Our considerations, my personal consideration was that after the 18 Grenadiers had established foothold on Tololing Heights, and Tololing Heights not the highest point there. It was near Daras and dominated the road, the national highway, very, very effectively. So after that, 18 Grenadiers was very taken by their failures, and they made 2 attempts to capture these heights. They kept creeping forward, one by one of his company commanders and one by the 2 IC Vishwanathan. And they were as close as 200 meters from the forward line of the enemy. But they could not cover this gap. Both were martyred. It was a very sad time, but both were martyred. And that gave a shock to 18 Grenadiers, and they sat there. And they held on to what they were there. Now, this is what thing which bothered us most. That if the brave hearts of infantry, who are very courageous, very brave, could not cover a short span of 100, 200 meters, how will they cover larger heights, larger distances? And the domination by the Pakistanis on the height was so severe that not a bird could move there. And the movement along the heights, going up, was very difficult. So my main concern was, and my personal concern was, the brave hearts will go, but will they survive their climbing this and reach the top and be able to fight that war? So that was my major concern, my personal concern as an artillery man. That what to do to make sure our infantry does not suffer the same fate as Charger Light Brigade in the Crimean War, where they lost hundreds of horsemen and horses for sheer bravery and grit.
Tell me something. You are responsible, or you are. It is deemed that you were the person and the officer who brought in the Bofors guns directly into this sector.
Let me let you an incident about before this. When I was being on after 22nd of May, when our attack had failed in the brigade, I was in the corps headquarters. And I was summoned by Chief of Staff, Major Gen Lakhwinder of the Armored Corps. I went to his office. He looked at me in askance and said, "What is artillery doing?" So I told him, I said, "Sir, give me 4 Bofors regiments and send me there. It'll make a difference." Now, this is a record. And he looked at me and said, "Nothing." And I walked off from there. And I later, after Saksan Tololing, he met me once again and he says, "Lakhwinder, what have you told me?" I told this verbatim to the corps commander. And the movement has started. By then, the movement of Bofors started. And I think more Bofors were sent in. Now, that is what made a difference. I was sure of Bofors. As a matter of fact, I'm a die-hard gunner. And I think the artillery firepower is a very important part of Indian Army. And it can make a world of a difference. So, artillery at that point in time, which when we had 6 fire units, by the time we started the operation, was built to 19 fire units, almost 104 guns plus a troop of MBRLs. Now, MBRLs, they fire like a hail of storm, and they can discharge a 40 tube in a very quick time. But they are more effective in open, but when troops are in open than in defenses. But the effect on morale is high.
MBRLS would be multi-barrel rocket launcher, just for a civilian audience. MBRLS would be multi-barrel rocket launchers.
Multi-barrel rocket launcher is of the Russian origin. It has 40 tubes in 4 tiers, and it fires them all in about a matter of 20 seconds. So it's an extremely high rate of fire. And the best part of rocket is when they're being fired, the tail can be seen, and it was a great encouragement for our own people, our own soldiers on the ground, to see the fire moving towards the enemy positions. The second part was that we had 95 units, and that is not dearth of artillery. There were adequate artillery. It was for us to use how best we can use it. We cannot say the artillery was not adequate. And there were about almost 6 Bofors fire units with me. So I realized that I went back in history, and I realized the time of Babur and Ranjit Singh's time, they used simple guns in the face of the enemy and fired directly at them. I said, if they could do so, why is it that we can't fire such a sophisticated, highly technological weapon like a Bofors in direct firing? So we decided to try out the direct firing long distances. I think it was 6th of June. We landed on 1st June, 6th June, try that out. I told David Cortez I want to try that, and GOC said, no problem, you go and try that. I took 2 Bofors and 2 field guns, 105 millimeters, to the base of Tolling near Drass. And we chose an objective there, which is known as the Barbad bunker in Tolling. Now, incidentally, Barbad bunker, it caused maximum casualties to the 18 grenadiers. It was heavily guarded. We had practiced the drills of direct firing. We put the best known man who could lay the gun the best. Now, in direct firing, unlike the indirect firing, the layer on the seat matters the most. And while we went there, 18 grenadiers were right close to the enemy, and they were requested to give us a pathway and move troops to side. Now, when I went to do this, the commander of the brigade, Brigadier Amarol, then later Lieutenant Amarol, he was a very keen observer and very keen to join me for this. So he was there with me, and 18 grenadiers were told to move to one side, give a fire lane, and we loaded a Beaufort gun, and with the prayers on our lips, Naik Avtar Singh sitting on a layered seat. He looked like a carpenter, but his hands were as steady as a surgeon. He fired the first shot. We were relieved the shot landed just close to Barbad bunker. And a third shot was hitting the Barbad bunker. And after that, what we fired was hitting the Barbad bunker, and we could hear intercept from the Pakistanis, "Hame bachao, yahan par कहर बरस रहा hai, save us." There's music to our ears. And they were in shambles. And then we realized that and it was a 4 kilometer distance at that time. The distance between the gun and the rolling hut is 4 kilometers. It was used for much greater distance later. There itni halbali thi in the camp that, of course, a suggestion was made to the CEO of the 18 grenadiers went to put a charge on that. But and I think rightfully so, thought otherwise. It was not so simple. So by this process, we had achieved our aim, and by the time we could switch over to 105mm guns, the enemy artillery started firing on us. One of the problems of direct firing guns is that you can see their features, so can artillery see your guns. And every time a direct firing position, our enemy was quick to react. They started firing on us. We had achieved our aim. I asked our guns to pull back, and we came back to base. Now, at this point of time, it was, I think by coincidence, that we turned a dumb munition of Beauforts to smart munition. Artillery had no other precision weapon, no other guided missile. So this bit of experiment became very handy to us, and we used it very well combined with other weapon systems, other guns, and we formed a concept in mind. Now, there's an important issue. We formed a concept to use 100 guns plus on each objective, so that we were able to throw a mini nuclear equivalent of TNT on the objective. At one time, when the guns fired, they were throwing 3,000 kg of TNT on objective. And if they fired 30 times, they were able to fire 0.1 kiloton of equivalent TNT on the objective. So this obviously had a very great effect on the Pakistan soldiers. Not only this, this was one side of it. To make a fire more effective, the Pakistan's intrusion was an irregular pattern. They're not a straight line pattern. The Pakistan, by the way, had occupied 130 kilometers of area and 140 posts. More than they had decided to occupy, and which proved to have been. One of the reasons they lost was because they occupied more posts than the manpower they had and logistics they had. So we said, let us make fire more effective. So we found gun positions around the objective and put the guns there. It's a tough job, a great toil for the gunners. They accepted it with some hesitation, but we were able to surround the objective with a ring of guns around it. Then we also said one more thing. In altitude, you normally fire a high angle gun, which is beyond 45 degrees. So we decided to fire guns at low angles, so that maximum rounds were on the crest. So a mix of high angle, low angle guns. And another thing we did was that we divided each objective into two parts. These ridges, they ran north to south. And the two clear faces, eastern face, western face. So we had guns earmarked for both the faces, different guns earmarked for both the faces. So the deployment was objective based. So maximum shells landed on the target, on the objective, and it had a very good effect on them. And they were not able to stand that firing. So this is the concept we used. Some people call it sledgehammer concept, some 100-gun concept. One of the very famous editors, he had a podcast on the subject. I think Shekhar Gupta. And he said that the first time after the Second World War, this concept was used. And it proved to a forerunner of many countries use it. And they say Ukraine is now using it. The same amount of guns, the same amount of this thing. Uh, so with this effect, we also made another important thing. We use a mix of guns, direct firing guns, and indirect firing guns. Now, when you use a direct firing gun, you suffer a loss of that gun not to be able to be used for any other objective. That is totally now dedicated for that. So what we did was fire these 100 guns, pulverize the objective, and beat it up with the direct firing guns. So these guns could fire as close as 40 or 50 meters of troops. So one of the most difficult job was made much easier by this combination. And the one more thing was important to understand that how this complete concept was executed. It's one thing to edited a concept, but very difficult to execute it. There are challenges, tactical challenges, and which one had to go through. At the level of the infantry battalions, with each company, there's a person called FO, called the OP officer, observation officer. But on that, we superimposed anchor positions on high places which could see the objectives. And they were manned by commanding officers. In the mountains, the vision of the OP officer was very limited. So what he couldn't see, the commanding officer took on the role of directing fire, the substance, the quantity, the quality, and type of fire that was required in this thing. And they played a crucial role in the victory of infantry battalions, all battalions. So this is a concept which is so utilized to pulverize the enemy.
That's excellent, sir, because coordination between the artillery and the infantry is so important in the mountains. Not that it's not important in the plains, but in the mountains it becomes all the more crucial. How did you go about training for this aspect?
So after 6 June, 6 June experiment with the Bofors, Amarol and I decided to let us expose our people to direct firing. Amarol by the way, was so fond of direct firing weapons that most time would call for a single gun and fire on enemy. And I think he was a half gunner. He could command a bloody artillery brigade very well. He had become so fond of it. So he deployed 4 Bofors guns facing the 0.5140 Toroling. Now, 0.5140 Toroling is on the same ridge line. 5140, 0.5140 is the highest point in the Toroling area, and a ridge runs down southwards. At the end of the ridge are Toroling heights, which are 2 heights, 0.5140, sorry, 0.4590 and Toroling. So we deployed guns at 6 kilometers facing this ridge, and we got our gunners to start firing. Infantry morale was very low at this time. They were absolutely, in the dumps. So we decided to get them to see this firing. And slowly the infantry people started coming in, started watching, and they were very happy to see our rounds falling absolutely dot on the point. The one Havaldar, he was not too convinced about it, and he said, "Saab, samne ek cave hai. There's an open face in this thing." He said, "Why do you fire there? Let's see." So gun was pointed there, loaded. The first round landed short of it. The second landed right in the mouth of a cave and blasted. So this made the infantry people very comfortable with the Bofors direct firing and the artillery. As a matter of fact, every time I went for attack, the first question you asked me was, how many direct firing guns do we have? How many Bofors do we have? So while with this concept, the Pakistan was cursing artillery, they were in despair, there was mayhem in them, they had no choice but one of despair and fear. The own infantry was worshipping as their savior. After the war, after each battle, we saw many infantry soldiers walking up to gun areas to pay their obeisance to guns and call them their saviors. So I think there was a very close combination. And at times, Pawan, the infantry people had more faith in gunners than gunners had. The 2 examples which I will cite when we come to the operation of different features. So it's a very good combination. It was like body and soul, and they were fighting together as body and soul. It as a matter of chief of Pakistan Army, he made a statement. He said that he told that to Mr. G. Parthasarthi, who was High Commissioner in Pakistan. He said, the way your artillery was used, you were forced to vacate the heights, or we would have never left the heights. Now, that is a very tall validation of a concept. And it was this concept also used by other armies. And soon 3 years after that, in the Torwar Mountain of Afghanistan, where the US and the Afghan army was trying to clear these people there, they had driven these people onto the heights of the Torwar Mountains, but they had not carried artillery with them, and they thought their air operation will make all the difference and they'll suppress the enemy. They were not able to do so. So the call of the operation, and Mr. P. Marcus of the US Naval War College, he writes in his thesis, he says, we took a stolen leaf from the Kargil and brought forward artillery to use in mountains. Now, Torwar Mountains were all akin to Kargil, but a little lower heights. So this concept that we initiated was very useful. It was causing mayhem in the rank and file of the Pakistanis. And every time whenever the artillery gets set aside, you could hear them messaging the higher quarters, "Hame bachao, yahan pe कहर बरस रहा है." Say was hell is falling on us, and that's music to our ears. As well as the infantry, the Pakistan army hated our guts for this. Our own infantry started worshipping the Indian artillery because it saved so many lives for them. And there were so many occasions when the infantry battalion, after their victorious sojourn, the men came to gun position, stayed to gun position to pay the obeisance to the guns for saving their lives. So very grateful. And therefore, the cohesion between these two, infantry and artillery, was so great that artillery was firing as close as 40 or 50 meters of the enemy. So that is what made the infantry operation so simple. What Kishenpal said, General Kishenpal, who was a corps commander, said that the artillery degraded the enemy to a degree where the infantry operation predestined to succeed. And he said dark firing had changed the color, the artillery had changed the tone, and artillery, he said, was used as a combat arm, not a support arm. So this is on record what he said. And Pakistan Chief of Army Staff paid a huge compliment to Indian artillery when he spoke to Mr. G. Parthasarthi, the High Commissioner in POK in Pakistan. He told him, he said, the way your artillery was used, we were forced to vacate those posts. Otherwise, we never left those heights. So artillery was effective. It made a difference in Kargil, and that is why it had become a subject of study in the foreign armies. Captain P. Marcus of the US Naval War College wrote a thesis on this subject, Altitude Warfare and Kargil War. And he says that artillery was led by one of the most innovative officers, that just about talking about that. And he said it made a crucial difference to all the pivotal battles of the Kargil. If it not for artillery, the infantry will never reach there. Now, this is not a tall statement. This is not a statement that infantry don't have courage or guts. No, they have. Even before they had this, they were walking up the hills. But how far could they climb those hills under the very nose of the dominant Pakis sitting on top of the hills with automatic weapons is anybody's imagination.
Tell me something. From all what you have described, what are the important leadership lessons that you can talk of?
Actually, lessons.
I'd rephrase it. because its leadership, right from the corps commander down, or let's say the army headquarters, down to the corps commander, and then to the div commanders, and to the brigade commanders, and the artillery, and the support arms that are there, and everyone down the line. What do you think are the important leadership lessons that would have cropped up uh, due to the Kargil War, especially in relation to artillery and the infantry?
One of the most important lessons of this Kargil was never say die. You can change the situation if you apply the armed forces well. And the corps commander, who had suffered tremendous pressure from the government, was a very cool man, and he did induct more forces. He gave them time and space to rehearse and practice, and it did not come under political pressure to launch immediate attacks. He only launched them when the battalions were ready for attack and they were all set for attack. And that one great lesson I learned. Second lesson I learned that you must have great conviction yourself. Your conviction is so important to win any battle or to any war. If you have no conviction and you flow with the wave, there's no way you can make a difference to any war situation. And third lesson I learned was that it is time we start thinking of these operations as a combined arms operation. We always thought so, but we never gave so much importance to a firepower. I don't call artillery as fire support system. It's not my system. I've always felt it's a firepower system because the firepower can do what nobody else can do and what's happening in Ukraine. So I think it's time to change our view a little, and accept artillery as a very not only influencing arm but decisive arm in the wars coming in future.
Tell me also something. One of the most important things after a battle or after a war is ended is the recognition that must be given to the soldiers who've done a very good job. Do you think that the aftermath of the Kargil War, as the Indian Army, we did the same?
No, I think as a matter of fact, I think in Kargil War, to my mind, were great battles fought. Great battles to be copied by, to be learned from by the armies across on the highest battlefield of the world. There have never been war at this level, at this scale. But whether we did culminate the battles into something to our advantage as Indians, I don't think we did that, because we stopped short of land of control. We even allowed the Pakistanis to pull back without firing at them. We did not change our LOC to our advantage. We did not take any punitive action against the Pakistanis. So it got scot-free, really. And that's a point which always concerns me. That and in the world view, by some friendly country were termed as responsible nation, but in the whispers, Pawan, we are called a weak nation.
Without resolution.
So weak nation, we have a strategic defensive mindset. We don't have a strategic counter-offensive mindset. We had a chance to convert Kargil when the world was in our favor. Everything was going for us. Pakistan on the run, to teach them a good, hard lesson. We were not able to do that. And then, of course, to save our recognition, I think we overbeat it with thumped our chest, rather very proudly, saying that we won a great war. I think what we did was took our own territory back. And I said, great battles fought, but nothing much about the war. And I think political compulsion and the military compulsion made it look a great affair. And the people very well awarded. It became a showpiece for the country. It became talked about. And, it was like never been a war like this. I remember the only conclusive war that we had was 1971, when a team of Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister, and the Chief Sam Manekshaw, when they fell apart and they came together to fight one of the most momentous war in the history of the globe. They not only made history, they also made geography. So I think we lacked that punch, which we should have used it. Why we didn't do it, I don't know.
You see, and had we used that punch then, probably the incidents that have followed between, Pakistan's terrorist activities within India would probably not have been there. And Pahalgam is one of the examples. Had you taught them a more serious lesson at that time, probably this Pahalgam may not have occurred, which has occurred a few days ago.
But not only that, I also feel that even what happened in Eastern Ladakh, right? If we had asserted ourselves somewhere and we're shown our power somewhere, maybe the China will learn a lesson. Maybe they were not taking the steps. Maybe, and obviously, very much what is happening in Pahalgam, they wouldn't have done that. One thing is definite, Pawan. They are not going to sit quiet on this. They will watch for a moment, and the right moment will strike again. So we need to be well prepared in our equipment, in our manpower, in our way of thinking, so that we can take them on when a chance comes. I have two, three more points about which were raised earlier with me, and we could not complete that because of a break in our communication. There were moments when the artillery made all the difference to the battles in Kargil. The first was the Tolling Heights, where the infantry was able to reach within 100 meters of the enemy, and this happened on the night of 12th June, and by 13th June, after a few moments of crisis, and I think the CEO of the two Rajiv, Ravindranathan, played a very major role in this. He had attacked two companies up two different flanks. When one of the flanks was held up, he in a very military mind, he used the reserve company to tackle the flank, which gave great results. And it was on 0.4590, it was captured. On Tolling side, the company commander, Major Gupta, lost his life. There's no other officer left with them. There was Captain M.K. Singh, was the OP officer. He took over the command of the company, led them to objective, repulsed counterattack, and made sure the brave men of the two Rajiv rifle never felt a shortage of any leader. So there are occasions. And then second time it happened was on a 0.5140. 0.510, we are first two attacks had failed. So this time, and it was very important to capture that because the most dominant feature in Drass, it dominated the road. 13 Jackliffe was asked to come and capture that. And 13 Jackliffe, the CEO was not with the battalion. There's only one company commander, Vijay Joshi, or 2IC, Joshi. The board in situation asked to capture this feature 0.5140. Between 0.5140 and where the position, there's one small feature, Rocky Knob, which was held by Pakistanis. It was causing problem for the infantry battalion, for the 13 Jack, to attack from this direction. Ultimately, 0.5140 was attacked from three directions. From the south by the 13 Jack, from north by 1800 walls, and also to the west by the two Nagas. So this feature was causing problem. They were not able to clear it. It was here that the brigade commander, Amarol, asked me to send some guns for right firing. He put the guns on them and fired at them and asked the battalion to attack that in daytime, where you could not think of doing a nighttime attack. Here the 13 Jackliffe launched a daylight attack, and they went and got over. There was nothing, they were all destroyed. So it made a momentous difference to capture of this. And third thing, 0.5140. When they reached on top, Pavan, there was nobody left there. Although there's a place where, the famous saying, Dil Bhage More by Captain Batra was immortalized by Barkadat. And actually, there was nothing there. It was substantiated not only by me, but also by the Great Commander Amarol and also one of the PVCs of the battalion, Sanjay Singh. He said, when he reached on top, था ही नहीं कुछ सब, हम जाके बैठ गए. So that is the impact of this thing. This is not enough. Let me give you 2-3 more examples because important for people to know that. After this, there was a feature called Marpola. Marpola 2 ridge lines, southeast and southwest. Along one, the 2 Raji were supposed to attack. Along the other, the 18 Wall. But 2 Raji launched an attack on 29th of June. Right? There is a place called Nol area. Nol area. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
The Nol area. And the brave boys of 2 Rajrif, the attacked Nol area, there were 3 bunkers in line with machine guns. They were able to clear the first 2. The third was holding on. I think Major Acharya was the company commander and Vijay Thapar was the company 2IC. And they, in their own spirit that they have, and to lead by example, one went from one flank and unknowingly the other went from other flank to clear this bunker. Both got mortared. There was nobody left. Both officers died. And there was no officer with them. There was one JCO who called up his CO and said, sir, you're in this situation, we can't clear this pillbox. CO to Rajiv, he said, use a Bofors. It was midnight. Use Bofors. So fortunately, we had practiced using firing Bofors at night by a method called direct indirect fire roll. Not a unique method, we did that. And the GSO was told to move away from the place to 200 meters away, 150 meters away, hide themselves take cover behind the boulders. And we'll put a layer. I was standing there personally, and we fired the first shot by a method that we had worked out with very, very high hard pressure on lips. And it fell close to the pillbox. By third shot, the pillbox destroyed. A 40 kg Bofors hit the pillbox, destroyed. Now this made a difference between victory and defeat. And the boys walked up and captured those hills. On the other flank was being tackled by 18 Garhwals. Again, a very brave CO, Bhattacharya. He attacked the feature .4700 and after suffering many casualties, was able to capture that. Now, in the saddle 470 and I think second was Sangad, I don't know the name exactly, there was a saddle. Now, saddle was held by the enemy and it was daytime. And the sole route of maintenance and link with the base was this route to saddle. So CO decided to use Bofors guns, firing Bofors guns, to clear this bunker. He ordered the OP officer that used firing guns. They came in, and as per his word, the CO's words, 50 rounds boomed in, and the enemy was clear. He went to occupy that. And next day, he launched another daylight attack. And he says, we're on top without any casualties. The words of CO. So there are many examples, where the artillery made, the Bofors especially, artillery made tremendous difference in the war. There was another example where the infantry officer was more sure of the artillery than us. It was when the 6 paras of your battalions, one of them, they were to launch their Sandro Top. So Sandro Top was a feature, on the flank of the 0.51 Tiger Hill. The important feature, it gave a look-see into the enemy's areas. Now, somehow the 6 paras were outwitted by the Pakistanis and they were daylighted. Now, sitting behind a rock, Major, I'm forgetting his name, sitting behind a rock was the OP officer, Major Dhaliwal. He told the OP officer, please fire artillery on this. He said, sir, we are sitting 100 meters from there, 150 meters from there. And it's not direct firing, it's indirect firing. It can cause fatal casualties. He said, you fired one, and they fired. The first round fell, they started ranging on, and they will range on to this, and they were close to a target. So Dhaliwal said, fire a round of battery fire. the OP said no, so we'll fire one round at a time. Now, since there was no communication between the OP and the guns, there was only communication through the SF. The Captain Major Dhaliwal, he ordered one round gunfire, and the rounds fell fortunately right on top, and they were able to extricate themselves. So there are incidents where they're a lot to talk about artillery.
So I think it's excellent, and for your efforts, you were also awarded the Youth Seva Medal in August of 1999. I think that's very creditable and goes to show as to the dedication that you brought into the battles that were fought in that area. And before we end, I'd like to thank all who will be listening to this podcast. And we delved into the pivotal role of the Enraged Bull of Drass, Major General Lakhwinder Singh. His strategic brilliance in deploying and innovating artillery, particularly the formidable Bofors guns, undeniably turned the tide in the crucial Drass sector. The unwavering coordination he fostered between the artillery and the infantry, coupled with his resolute leadership, were instrumental in reclaiming key positions like Tololing, Tiger Hill, and Point 5140. While the valor of many Kargil heroes shines brightly, it is vital to remember and acknowledge the indispensable contribution of leaders like General Lakhwinder Singh and the countless soldiers who fought with unparalleled courage in those unforgiving heights, and many under his command. Their sacrifices remain a testament to India's unwavering resolve and a profound inspiration for generations to come. General Lakhwinder Singh, I'd like to thank you for taking your time off and recapturing the old memories that would be there with you about the war. And I'd also like to request all who see this podcast to please like it, share it, and subscribe to the NISSMAT channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pawan. It was a pleasure being with you.